Democrats are scrambling. They need some kind of new anti-Trump talking point, right? Because what has failed? The impeachment idea has failed. The idea that, okay, he shouldn't have done this strike because he didn't include Jasmine Crockett in AOC. That has failed. What else has failed? This idea that, maybe there was, there was no reason to do this because there was no chance that they were actually that close to a nuclear weapon. That's clearly failed. So now they're pivoting once again, and they're going to this report that came out of CNN. So this is an early assessment report from some members of the intel community that leaked this. So they're saying that the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back by months. You know what's interesting about this? And I always think about this as a journalist. I always think, who is this coming from? Okay, because what if this is coming from the uber, super duper deep state that actually wants us to really go in and insist on regime change and wants this thing to move forward in a bigger way? It could come from them, or it could come from people that just despise Donald Trump and want to give the Democrats a new talking point, or it could come from a combination of both, right? You kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Maybe you try to make Trump look bad, and then you have a reason to try and push this conflict further even more than he would want it to be. He has no use for this story. Caroline Levitt pointing out that one of the reporters in this story was one of the first people to be saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was nothing but misinformation, disinformation, totally fake, which we know was not the case. So the sources that these reporters may have within deep state and the intel community may be questionable in and of themselves. It's important to remember that as we think through what's real, what's not in this environment. And again, I encourage you to look at the markets because investors tend to have kind of a good handle on what's real and what's not. Donald Trump calling on CNN at NATO and, it's funny. He's like, oh, yeah, fake news CNN because of the story they just put out. Listen.
Yes, please, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, fake news CNN? Oh, yeah, here we go. Wait till you hear this question.
Thank you, sir.
You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do.
Anyway, this is their story, right? So they're billing this as the exclusive, and the next thing you know, the New York Times is all over it. Everybody's jumping on this story, and they're doubting the success of these strikes. Again, I think it's just really important to remember, you got to understand where this is coming from. You've got to know that the Democrats are scrambling as fast as they can because they can't let him have a win. Of course not, right? I mean, so Jeffries, he's joining the bandwagon as one of the MSNBC anchors is starting to say, well, maybe this is good. And he's like, no, because we have no idea if this was successful or not. Watch.
Leader Jeffries, to that point, you and many people have had your position in the decades before this, have expressed frustration when presidents don't seek congressional authority for military action like this. Do you feel like that a greater good was achieved here if Iran's program was, if not destroyed, but at least significantly delayed? What should be the next steps for this administration in this process?
Well, to be clear, Iran can never be allowed to become a nuclear-capable power. Iran is a sworn enemy of the United States, of Israel, of Jordan, of our allies in the Middle East, a sworn enemy of the free world. But the question, of course, was this strike successful in meaningfully pushing back Iran's nuclear aspirations? Or is it going to complicate things in the Middle East in ways that put our men and women in uniform, American troops, and America in harm's way? That's simply the reason that having a all-member briefing on Capitol Hill sooner rather than later is important, so these answers can be obtained for the American people, the representatives of the American people in the United States Congress. That is the reason, fundamentally, why it's been Congress that was given the power to declare war, to authorize military force. And when administrations act differently, they have an obligation and a responsibility to provide the facts, the evidence, and the truth justifying their actions to the American people.
I'm just answering some of your chats in the live chat right now. Scott Cullen encouraging me to post some of my operatic arias. I got to do that this summer. I want to make a new recording, but I digress. Back to Jeffries and MSNBC. You see where he's going on that? He's trying to say that, okay, like they weren't able to take this out. They weren't actually able to be successful enough. And this is what they're going to continue to do. Marco Rubio weighing in on these intel assessments that got leaked, also saying exactly what I said, that you have to understand where these things are coming from.
I can't talk to you about intelligence. I can also tell you that intelligence leaks are one of the most frustrating things anywhere, not just because you got somebody who has access to this putting stuff out there, but because it's so often mischaracterized. An intelligence report, for anyone who's ever seen it, sometimes is an assessment. Some analysts will make an assessment, or analysts will make an assessment. And in these leaks, what you typically have is someone who read it and then leaks it to the media, giving it the spin and the angle they wanted to have because they've got some purpose. Embarrass the administration, they were against the action, whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, and you just have to understand that it's been sort of my MO as a reporter, and why it's so critical to me to understand and hear all sides and then make my own determination, right? Because they all have their own bias, and you don't always know where the bias is coming from. The bias could be that, hey, somebody wants us to actually get into a big, humongous conflict, right? And have this whole thing drawn out. Another bias could be, well, we don't like Donald Trump. This came up again in their sort of impromptu meeting. You may have to turn the volume up a little bit. I'm doing what I can on my end to fix the audio. But here is Marco Rubio. They're speaking at NATO with the whole group. He's got Donald Trump there. He's got the head of NATO there. He's got Pete Hegseth there. And he, again, cites the sort of, I think that you have to understand the color, if you would, the color of this intel that's getting leaked. By the way, they're going to go after the leaker. They're going to find the leaker. They're opening an investigation into the leaker. Because you can't do that. It's actually against the law.
Stuff about the intelligence. This is what a leaker is telling you the intelligence says. That's the game these people play. They read it, and then they go out and characterize it the way they want it characterized, and they're leakers. This is the game they play. So that's number one. Number two, here's a fact. The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility. We can't even find where it is, where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone. It's wiped out. It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in 2 places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape. And I refer you to the statement of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi. You know what he said? He said there was Iran, the way it looked the day before the attack, and what their nuclear program looks like now. 2 very different things. They are way behind where they were just 7 days ago. Now, anything in the world can be rebuilt. But now we know where it is, and if they try to rebuild it, we'll have options there as well. But all this leaker stuff, these leakers are professional stabbers. That's what they are. They go out and they read this stuff, and then they tell you what it says against the law, but they characterize it for you in a way that's absolutely false. There's no way Iran comes to the table if somehow nothing had happened. This was complete and total obliteration. They're in bad shape. They are way behind today compared to where they were just 7 days ago because of what the president did.
Wow. So I think he hit the nail on the head. Okay. You got to understand the motivation of the person that's leaking this. And you've got to understand that they're not actually providing the intelligence. They're like giving bullet points on the intelligence, and the reporters are too lazy. You think they're going to read anything? I'm sorry. Like, that's just the reality of the business. I was very disappointed early on, because I realized that everybody's willing to just take spoon-fed bullet points instead of actually doing real reporting, talking to people, doing the reading. You actually have to read it yourself, guys, okay? Before you put out something as aggressive as this. And again, it's pretty aggressive to suggest that, like, basically this was a nothing burger. I mean, listen, I'll take, if they were like hours away from creating something and we bought ourselves 3 months, I would consider that a win. But I think we bought ourselves a whole lot more than 3 months. I think that this is a very deliberate characterization, as Marco Rubio is saying, and you have to take that with a grain of salt. Not to say that you shouldn't see it. You know what? It's interesting to see, okay? It's interesting. I'd actually like to read the real intel report. Thank you very much. I'd like to get my hands on the real stuff so I can make the determination instead of relying on a bunch of CNN reporters who I don't believe are actually always telling us the truth. And back to Caroline's point, one of those reporters was one of the first ones to put forward the whole idea that it was a bunch of misinformation, disinformation, spoon-fed to you, the Hunter Biden laptop, courtesy of Rudy Giuliani and the Russians. Come on. How am I supposed to trust this reporter? I don't, okay? I just don't. And it's why you kind of have to make your own determination in some of these things. It's one of the reasons why I go back to the market, right? And the market's strong right now. I know that, Don, I just read that you're shorting NVIDIA again. I'm not in and out of stocks like that. I tend to, and Rob as well, my co-founder at 76 Research, we pick things that we like for the long haul. And sometimes we make changes to our portfolios, but for the most part, we're buy and hold. Don's a former options trader, so I get it. You know, you're in and out and you're having a good time. I don't like the tax consequences. Frankly, if something goes up a lot and then I got to sell it, and you get the drill. Anyway, 76research.com for what you should be investing in right now. One of the things that we were talking about this morning was, did you see New York real estate? These are REITs, okay? These are real estate investment trusts. They are plunging. They are plunging because real estate in New York is going down. Why is real estate going down? Oh, well, because they somehow think they're going to turn communist all of a sudden. They get a guy who wants free groceries and free housing and baby baskets for every baby born. I mean, it's just kind of funny. It's not funny, actually. It's actually really serious. It's really, really serious. And it's shocking that this happened. And maybe Eric Adams will be able to, you know, pull a rabbit out of a hat. And you know, I don't know, but I'm very discouraged in New York. I'm very thankful I do not own real estate in New York City anymore. We're going to get to that story coming up.
Trump country is booming. We're building, hiring, and winning in America because energy tax credits put America first, bringing manufacturing jobs home and creating a stronger middle class.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country. More production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers.
And America's comeback depends on American energy. President Trump, keep what works. Don't repeal energy tax credits. Paid for by Built for America.